Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast to some degree. For those of you who are new here and maybe don't know us, we are your number one companion to navigating the post-grad lifestyle. Whether you're in grad school, the workforce, or somewhere in between, we want this podcast to help you feel seen, especially as young adults in this world. And I'm one of your hosts, Brittany. I'm your resident STEM-loving entrepreneur and all-around nerd.
And I'm Jahari, the BA of the duo and your favorite co-host of the two. So let's dive right in with some fact checking. So,
Is this your life update?
no, this is fact. I'm literally fake newsing myself.
Oh, okay.
So last week I talked about how we applied for South by Southwest, bringing the podcast in conjunction with two other great podcasts. Of to Austin, Texas to do a live episode as a part of the South by Southwest Education Conference. We were waitlisted, and then I checked my email, and we were actually rejected. We were actually rejected after
Literally
waiting
right after we recorded.
after waiting like 2 months or maybe like 6 weeks. Like it was a while.
It was
It's been a
close to
while.
two, yeah. It's been
It's
close
been
to
a
2 months.
while since the original slate of like speakers have gotten announced, and then we were waitlisted. They said they wanted to make room for us, blah blah blah, but they eventually could not, which is fine because I don't know. I felt like I went in like if I didn't get it in October, what space were they gonna find? Like,
Facts.
what was an extra room gonna pop up? Was
Right.
someone like was gonna someone gonna say no? But then also it decreased the amount of time that you have to like plan a trip to Austin and trying to buy tickets like as soon as you get the news in like holiday season is
Right.
very much not ideal. All of the like early bird pricing on like the on even the hotels like has vanished by then. So it's like now you're playing catch up with all the money. And if you don't buy it then it's
Right.
like it's
We're
gonna
on
be
the streets if we got
skyrocketed,
there.
right? Like by 2025. So that was a very convenient but inconvenient like thing to find out. So yeah, that's I don't have any life updates, so that is that is the update. That is the update is that I am fact checking myself. I spread fake news last week. We were actually rejected, but don't worry. It is my hope that in the spring we'll be able to record the special episode that we were
Yeah.
going to anyway. So it's somewhere in the sequence of these episodes. Be on the lookout for that episode in collaboration with two other podcasts. And yes,
Yeah, honestly, like, even if we can't get them on at the same time, like, we're planning to do something with, either one or.
ideally they would be on at the same time. My God, today.
True, true. Ideally, but you never know. So,
Yeah.
just holding space for that. Speaking of holding
Yes.
space, that's part of my update.
Were you holding
Holding
too much
space for
space?
Wicked.
Were you holding too much
Wicked.
space for Defying Gravity? Did you
I
cry?
was. I was. Yeah, just life
You
update.
cried?
I cried multiple
Oh,
times during that
oh, that's
movie.
ridiculous.
Please! You didn't cry?
No.
Not once?
No. Not even a tear, not even like a well up. I was just like,
And
oh.
you call yourself a theater nerd.
But I didn't call myself, but I did not call myself an emotional person. I think we know that,
That's
but I am. It is very rare for me to drop a tear at all, much less in a movie. That's whoa, whoa. I think the only movie that I cried in is probably somebody probably died. Somebody probably like literally died. Like that's
Do
probably
you
and
not
not
watch enough movies? That's almost every movie.
well, not like horror movie like death. Like somebody probably like tragically died. Like there was like a plot point,
Yeah,
like of
agreed.
someone's death, like kind of changing the trajectory of the story, but not like in a horror or like a gory action thriller kind of way, like in a family drama kind of way. So it's probably been years. Years, because I genuinely can't think of like a movie that has like sat me down. Maybe I cried at the end of Dreamgirls when they started hitting all those good notes.
Okay. Per.
Maybe, maybe, maybe. I don't
Maybe.
remember. I don't
Maybe.
remember.
Yeah, speaking of another musical, Hadestown. Haley Kilgore just got casted. That was like
Really?
And I was like,
Cast as what?
wow. Huh?
Cast as what?
I forgot her name. Year. I don't want to say the name wrong because I'm not
Okay.
like a super fan of Hadestown, but I
Right,
was
right,
just
right.
like, as
Is
soon as
this
I
no,
saw
it
the
can't.
cast
I was gonna
list.
say, is this her first show since Once on This Island? Because I feel like I didn't hear anything. I haven't heard
Well, she's
anything
just
about
been
them.
doing her music career, so maybe. Um,
Um, I don't
yeah,
want
I'm
to be
not sure.
negative. I don't want to be negative, but like,
She was on TV though,
good
like for a
idea.
while.
Oh, I was gonna say, good idea.
Yeah.
Because I didn't hear her on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah. But she was on TV for a bit, was doing her own music career, but I loved her in Once on This Island, so as soon as
Well,
I saw her in Hadestown, I was like, maybe it is time to jump on this train.
speaking of, this is actually very interesting. I was having this conversation with my friends after we saw the movie, because like we were the opening weekend like people, so
That was Thanksgiving weekend, but
right.
yeah.
So I so I felt like we were like the numbers started coming out, and I think they had broke even like by the end of the first weekend, like by Sunday. I think they had broke
Wait,
even.
like with how much the movie cost to
Yeah,
make?
but how much the movie
Dang,
cost? I think they had
that's
broke even. I
insane.
think it was like $100 million to make the movie.
Probably more. I mean, it was probably 100, close to at least half that to just plant all those flowers that they
Wait, are they
planted.
not anim? Anyway, I'm gonna
No, they
leave that
did like
alone.
zero CGI in this. Like the only CGI was really just like the flying monkeys. Like most of the
No,
other stuff was real set,
those people got on my nerves.
which
By
is
people, I mean
insane.
the flying monkeys. They really got on my nerves.
That's fair.
Okay, so as of right now, it says that um the budget was $150 million, and they've already made $366 million.
Wow.
Um, and mind you, this has been like in the works for 12 years.
No, yeah. I mean, they've been filming for at least the last four, like since the pandemic. So
Right. I don't think that they I think it was a good decision because I don't think it would have been successful when they probably would have done it originally. Like they had come out like 2015, I'm not sure it would have been as successful.
I don't think like Wicked as a Broadway was even that like big in 2012 when they first like had introduced the idea. So
Right.
it was like,
Yes. I mean, well, I think like the movies that we watch and the movies that we watch specifically, people love movies, of course, but movies do really well when they speak to like a moment. Do you know what I mean?
mhm.
Like, there's one thing of like, obviously there are box office draws. Like, there's like a Gladiator where I don't know what people was like. I know it's the second one, right? It's Gladiator
Yes, the
2.
second
So
Gladiator.
like, I guess like there's fans, but I don't know if they're like. I mean, there's Denzel. Like, that's the reason I would go see is because of Denzel, right? I don't think the average person is like was dying for a Gladiator 2 to come out. But like similar to this, like I don't think this fits in like the age of like a Hamilton.
Mm-mm.
Like
I
that feel
agree.
like I think this was the right time.
Yeah, and I also
Especially with Ariana Grande in the
yeah,
role. I think it would
yep,
have had to be two different people,
yeah.
obviously. We didn't even know who Cynthia Erivo was in 2012. So so like popularly, I don't know if she's been working that long, but
She,
um
she's been working for a while, and like retrospectively, I have looked at her stuff,
right.
right? Now that I like know her,
Right.
but yeah, she's amazing. So I'm glad she was casted in this role for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, just to your point too, like it's also kind of the era of like filmmaking where like we see the villain side of the story and we get
Mm,
that they were actually the good guys and like
yeah.
the good guy is not that good kind of thing. So yeah, I think this was a
Yeah. I think it
well
also has
timed.
enough nostalgia. Like I think they're beloved characters. Like American like culture is like very much. I literally was just. This is like a two worlds colliding moment. A couple weeks ago, I was just the Wizard of Oz, like the original, the 1939 movie, was celebrating like obviously 70, 85, 85 years since it was released,
Mm.
and they were making like anniversary material. Marc Jacobs, like the fashion company, and so like they were like I don't have anything, so I can't like go to my closet and like come
You can
pull
get
anything.
your wicked bays baggage.
Oh yes, yes. No, but that's not the point. I don't have any of the Wizard of Oz like
Mhm.
anniversary merch, but um, like I think about like obviously if they're like collaborating with like Marc Jacobs to put out material that's actually selling out, like wallets, T-shirts, totes, like everything. Like the characters are beloved enough that like the draw to like see, not even just like what I'm trying to say is like it's not just the, I don't think it's just about the appetite, like to hear about the villain, how they come to be, what their story is, what their origin is, and like being open to more than the glitzy glossy like original adaptations that like
Mhm.
sanitize the gray area between like right and wrong, good and bad, that kind of thing. But I think also like people want to see characters that are familiar to them. That's why we have so many people
Right.
trying to like reboot old shows. That's what I'm trying to
Right.
say, right? Like this is a way to like keep it fresh.
Yeah, or just give it like a live action version of things,
Right.
like giving you that like feel of everything is still, kind of as your childhood was or like whatever characters you related to like in your youth kind of thing.
Right.
So,
I don't want to be, and I don't. This is not a movie, TV, like analysis podcast, so I will leave it there.
right. But it does kind of bring up the question of branding, right? We were kind of just talking about it
Mm,
on the movie side, but I guess like how do we do that, post grad in
mm,
spaces inside and outside of corporate life, right?
hmm
I
I
think
wonder if Bayes will let me design my own like post grad resume,
post grad
like
baggage,
my resume, like my own collection. Like you know, I can send a suitcase to all of the recruiters.
right? To some
Right.
degree,
Right.
luggage coming
Yes.
to you soon. I'm kidding. No, sponsor us.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but I think we kind of brought this up a little bit last week as well. Or I don't really know how our podcast schedules look, so let me not say last week, but last episode, where we kind of discussed that, our resumes might look different and similar in some ways, but kind of how to market yourself,
Hmm.
how to brand yourself, kind of in and out of those spaces. I don't know if you have anything.
Yeah. So I think everything is changing all the time, and that's the
Mm.
problem. Like
That's so true.
I mean I feel like the advice that I got for resume building in, let's say, 2016, like the time
Mm.
where I got my first job, is very different than the advice I feel like I got last year in 2023. In 2016, and granted I wasn't even in a creative industry or applying to a creative industry in 2016. This in 2023 I was. So
Mm.
like for context, in 2016 I feel like I was told like, recruiters see a lot of resumes. Like, you have to stand out. Like, they're only going to give you a resume like a once over if you have a
Right.
captivating like style that you use, right? Or, the traditional, basically saying the traditional resume that is black and white, list your name, list your experience, list your education, and then maybe like some awards or things that you've gotten, like that was obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
And like the more creative you got, the better, right? Still in the same like format, like you would still list the same things, but it would like visually would appear different. So like my old resume is like red. I don't know if I can dig that up, but I don't
Wow,
want to put that. I don't
that's
want to put.
bold.
Yeah, I don't want to put that in. I don't want to put that out to the public. But like it was like red and like maybe navy blue colored,
Mm.
as like a way to like stand out, right? And obviously I got the job that
Right.
summer. So I feel like the with the onset of like technology and tracking systems for applications where the resumes are being screened before they're being seen has kind of like changed that dynamic,
Yeah.
right? To where going too popular will put you like will disadvantage you algorithmically, right, or technologically, as like the first step into the foray of job placement or interviewing, right? Like you will not get the job because the technology will not be able to screen your resume.
Yeah.
And I've seen some companies like allow you to opt out of that and like opt for a human to review your resume. But that's not universal, like at all.
Not
That's
at
not
all.
universal at all. People with how many people, especially with the crashing of the job market and the white collar job like freeze, if you will, that you will find many people who don't want to read your resume because like you get 300 resumes for one role,
Mm-hmm.
And who wants to sit through
Who wants to
300
sit there and read
resumes, right?
all of
Like
them? Right.
this is where the techies get you. Sorry to your community, but this is where the techies get you.
It's
Like,
okay.
it's not efficient. It's not it's not reasonable to expect someone to to sit through and review 300 individual resumes,
Yeah.
and then like pick the best person, right? Because it leads to all sorts of bias, right? You get tired of looking at the same thing over and over again. You get tired of kind of evaluating, and then there's like human stuff that like gets involved, right, with what they see on the resume. Like, but I don't know that technology really solves for anything other than the efficiency question. Um, and then like to some degree, the
Plug for our
technicalities
podcast.
right, to some degree the technicalities between the like of the similarities between what we're asking for in the job description and what's listed on the resume, right? I think it only
Mm-hmm.
solves for those two things. It doesn't actually solve for the full breadth of problems that people were trying to solve with different like talent practices. um Hey everyone, it's Jahari. If you made it this far into the podcast video, I just wanted to take time to thank you for watching. Don't forget to click that bell icon, like, comment, and subscribe. Now back to the show. But I do think that like to circle back to the original point, I think that the advice from when I first started seeking a job, like at all, to seeking a post grad job had completely changed in a matter of like 7 years.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it is ever changing. I mean, not to bring up kind of the AI role again, but it's like people are using it to be more efficient. Period.
Right.
Like
Right.
no one like you were saying, no one wants to sit there and read 300 like resumes, especially when
Right.
some are just not, formatted in not even readable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's like, trying to eliminate some of those things. And I'm not saying that it's not fallible, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it does skip over people who actually have the talent and like the potential for, you know, whatever position like they're applying for. Um, so that is just like something that is a part of the personal brand now, like making sure that, your resume fits like a one fits all kind of AI quick,
Right.
efficiency check, and also like speaks to a human being as well, because like if you get past that check, it's still going to be read by a human being.
Right.
So yeah, just being able to showcase yourself immediately on paper, and
Mm-hmm.
then also being able to showcase yourself like in an interview,
Mm.
um, is has changed. But like, I think like some of the base level things are kind of still the same, right? It's like you
Yeah.
have to be able to actively present what you're capable of, what your skill set is, what your experience is, what like you're willing to just like be a lifelong learner, like even if you don't have like the full skill set that they're looking for, especially in a job market where it's like, oh, we want 5 to 10 years experience, and it's like, I'm just graduating. So what do you mean
Yeah.
by that? So
Right.
you have to like highlight what makes you, you know, a person that is capable of doing the work, regardless if you know how to do it
Mm.
now or not. So
Yeah. That's a good, well, actually, that's it. My other point that I was going to bring up is kind of like to your point of if you can do the work well or not is the cover letter,
mm,
right? Like I'm not really sure what happens to the cover letter. Like I'm assuming it gets like screened the same way, or maybe they read it later on when they decide. I don't know. Like I like
right.
that is like very much a mystery to me, like where the cover letters go. I remember I was on LinkedIn like when hiring season start like in the fall, like when people start like hiring again, when they start like trying to list out roles like around September, October to like have them done by the end of the calendar year so the
Right.
person starts fresh in the new year. If they're not hiring like almost immediately down to like
Mm-hmm.
in like before like the holiday, like well before the holidays, so that people are in and onboarded by that time. But anyway, the point being that they're like everywhere requires a cover letter now, which is another chance to brand and market yourself and talk about the things that are not on your resume, right? The things that don't fit neatly into a resume that can demonstrate your aptitude to do the work, but also who wants to keep writing a cover letter?
No, genuinely.
Who wants to keep writing a cover letter over and over again,
It's
right? Because now they're being trained to like detect AI. If you use
mm-hmm.
AI to use to produce your cover letters, it's like okay, but I'm applying. The average person probably applies in this job market if you don't have like one of those like programs like you were in, right, which translates from a internship into a full-time offer, right, you could end up applying to 100 jobs. Are you going to write 100 cover letters from scratch?
Right. But it's also like I don't know, like at least if you're applying through LinkedIn or something, it's kind of like Common Appy.
Yeah.
Like you can put it in once, but you also still need to tailor your
Does that
message to.
work?
I don't know.
I don't
I
know
don't
anybody
know.
who's gotten a job from applying on LinkedIn. Like, I think that is a scam.
I genuinely don't know. But I will say, like, regardless, you have to tailor it to the company
Right.
that you're applying to, right? You
Right.
can't just have a, you know, copy paste answer to each one. But it
Hmm.
was very interesting that you said that cover letters are kind of required now because in my space, it's like very optional, right?
Yeah.
It looks good to have one for
Right.
sure because most people don't.
Right.
But it's definitely more of a you can choose if you want to present yourself in that way
Right.
and like
Well, I
it
think.
is
Oh,
it
go
is an
ahead. Go ahead.
additional opportunity to brand yourself like you were saying so like
Right.
take it.
And I think it's more important on our side for two reasons. I think one,
Mhm.
it shows your writing skills, which more than often on this side counts a
Right,
lot.
you need right.
And then second of all, like I said, there are there's not a lot of people who could do your job. It is a very a very skilled. I mean, we have skilled jobs. Don't get me wrong. It is a skill to know how to write and to communicate effectively,
For sure.
and all the other variations of what people who get BAs and what they choose to do in their career, of course. But what I'm saying is, there's a lot of technical skills on your side that are not something that everybody has access to, right? Like,
Mm.
all of us to an extent, right, get writing instruction from the time we start school all the way to the end, right? But I don't know how to. I don't know how. I don't know how to program. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to engineer some software, right? Like, I don't know that, right? So a cover letter does nothing to tell you that I can actually do that. But a
Right.
cover letter does tell you, on my side of things, working at a mission driven organization, if you align with the mission, if your personal values and what you value doing professionally aligns with the mission of the organization, and then also, if you, like I said earlier, if you can write and communicate effectively, which is a skill that you need in not just a communications job or a PR job, right? But it is something that you need just to talk to the many people that you have to get your work done. And so I think that it is, like, even more important because you want to set yourself apart. And of course, like I said, there are hundreds of people applying to one job, so it is another
Mhm.
way to differentiate yourself from everybody else. What it makes you unique from person B, who you don't know, but you know that that candidate is out there, right? And so, to some degree, like, sometimes you can even write into your own shortcomings to convince people to give you, like, you're able to be more raw and more honest, if you view that as like an asset to your application or not, right?
No,
Because,
yeah, right.
like, if I'm applying to something that requires 3 to 5 years of postgraduate experience, but that I don't have, um, the cover letter gives me the room to explain, here's why that doesn't really matter for me, right? And proceed in that way. And I think that that is also a way to brand yourself as, like, a bold professional, right? Somebody who is ambitious, somebody who is, responsible, somebody who is creative enough to think of their career as a journey, right? That is not easily boxed into the stationary requirements about number of years, X number of years
Hmm.
representing a certain level of experience that makes you good at a job. Because we all know managers that are horrible. No matter how long they've been managing people, they are horrible. They are horrible in their relationships with people and horrible in kind of cultivating the spaces that the people that they supervise need to be successful in their jobs. So I just went on a rant about a lot of things, but I hope there was some
There was
things that
definitely some
resonated with
pockets of
people,
wisdom in there, you
right?
know.
That resonated with people in there.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to caution too, because we are talking about, like, making yourself look unique on paper, right?
Yes,
Don't lie. Please don't lie, because you will get caught once you get into the interview to talk about those things, right? And, like,
I went off camera because
where did he go, guys?
I'm not gonna say it out loud, but let's just say I'm not above doing what you just mentioned.
I mean, like, I'm not saying that, like, embellishments aren't needed
Right,
to make yourself look
right.
more XYZ, right?
Hmm.
But don't say something that is so outside of you, that you can't
Yeah. Fair
present that
enough.
when you actually get to the interview,
Right. Because now
right?
you branded yourself as a liar.
Right. Now your
Yeah.
brand is I'm a liar, right?
Right.
Um, and like, yeah, I just wanted to make that known because I was in a workshop kind of a few weeks ago, with resume building and stuff, and
You're still going to
cover
those?
letters, huh?
You're still going to those?
It's a part of the program that I'm in,
Oh, okay. I'm
for
like, aren't
the
you?
women's
Haven't you like?
leadership.
Have you not aged out of that by now? Like
It was
my
just
God.
one of the sessions, but she was saying like, that happens way more often than you think, and I'm like, why would people do that? And
Yeah.
like maybe that's just not common knowledge, especially if you're using AI to write your
Hmm.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
You need to, you
If
gotta
you
proof
don't
it.
check,
You gotta proof it.
I have literally caught AI lying. And full disclosure, I am a Grammarly ambassador. Next week, I will wear my Grammarly ambassador shirt. And by the time this episode comes out, I will have refreshed my Instagram
Oh wow, yeah.
and my personal and my
3 years
Twitter.
later, I'm gonna know.
Right, right, and my Twitter to like represent like the multitudes of what I do. I have a lot of trepidation about like branding myself in my personal channels with my professional identity,
Mm.
for a number of reasons. But um, I don't know. I'm trying to be more open about it because I feel like I've hindered myself in terms of opportunities by not by like trying to keep everything separate and not like mixing the platforms in which I do produce the very little amount of content that I do, like in the way of professionalism to have people like follow me. Like, do you know how I could be a Grammarly influencer? And Grammarly
Yeah.
actually has good merch.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's interesting that you brought that up too, because I'm like, that's something I'm struggling with as well, right? I do a lot of, side projects, entrepreneurship stuff, wood burning, podcasting,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't
Yes.
know if I want to mix those things, but also like I am missing that opportunity to gain following from the audience that I already have, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's like definitely a something that you have to think about for yourself, depending on your industry, depending on your side hustles, quote unquote,
Yeah.
to figure out like if that is something that you need to keep separate or is it something that you can combine. And I think like in your case, like yes, I think you should combine it. In my case, some things I should combine. I
Right.
don't think like my show video edits should necessarily be on my personal page because not
Right.
everyone is into the shows that I watch. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, there is some room to kind of merge your branding of yourself, if that
Yes.
makes sense.
Yes.
Kind of
Um.
overlap it and you know,
Right. Because and I think that what that really gets to like at the core of it is like we are multidimensional people. We are
hmm
people with varied interests, various passions. You do not have to stay in one career all your journey. You do not have to stay in one field. You do not have to stay in one kind of role. You are allowed to be a person, right, who is working jobs. As much as they will tell you to make your job your identity, right? Like it is your identity that makes the job, right? Like you as a professional exist uniquely, right? Even if you do share roles with other people, journeys, backgrounds, right? Like you are an individual with your own passions, your own interests, your own styles, your own, kind of ways of doing things that far exceed just the title that you hold, right? And that will be true for the rest of your career. So I do think like branding yourself as the multidimensional person that you are is also important, to what we're saying like here.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I know this was also a episode in the podcast from last season, but remember the importance of networking as well.
Mm,
Um, yeah, you never know who you're really talking to, who they have connections to.
right.
For any of your endeavors, right? It can be either corporate or, in the personal branding that we're talking about as well. So
Yeah.
always keep your mind open, especially like when you're in a corporate space and you're like, oh, this person is, beneath me in a role kind of thing. It's like you don't know who they know. So don't count them
Yeah.
out just because they have a
Right.
lower role than you. Or
Right.
like, oh, like, my manager, like you were saying, like, not a good person, right? It's like, don't count them out though, because you don't know who they know, right?
Right. Right.
It's like, still, present yourself well and network,
Very
show
fair.
who you are multifacetedly to everyone, right? Because you never know what they can
Very fair.
present you in terms of opportunities and stuff. So.
Yeah. That's really fair. I agree with that. I mean, yeah, I agree with that.
Do you agree with that, Joy?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. Um, honestly, that we can wrap the episode around this time. I mean,
Really?
I was gonna introduce this new segment, but I think we can push that off for another episode. I think we went into pretty
That's
good
true.
discussion
I
on
mean,
that.
yeah, I think this was a good episode. I think that it will be episode you have to find the pearls.
Right.
You'll have to
Did we
find the
rant
pearls
sometimes?
because
Maybe.
yes, you have to find the pearls
Yeah.
of wisdom that work for you. But I also wanted to say something about um, branding yourself as well. This is like my final thought.
Go for it. Yeah.
Like I think that I think people believe that branding yourself means that you have to become an influencer and that has to be the goal. I think that is a
Mm,
lot of the connotation around brand and marketing, because it has proliferated, right? Like in the last couple of years, is that you have to create content and
right.
you do not have to do that
Do
to
not.
brand
And
yourself. You
not
do
everyone is
not
good
have to
at
do
doing
that.
that. It's
Right.
okay.
I have never created content until I've done this podcast. And I will tell you, um, that it is very rare that you will see me,
Mhm.
right? Like that you will see me creating content that puts me in front of the camera. But there's content that's out there, right, that I'm involved in, but you would never know. And that's okay with me. And for now, that is okay with me. And I think that what I find to be the truest sense of like branding myself is on LinkedIn. And I'm specifically using LinkedIn for this. I comment.
You
I
do. You
comment.
pop up in my
I
notifications often.
comment. I comment.
Yeah.
Whether it be to like, yeah, whether it be to once again like talk about the things that I'm doing on the side, like I'm involved in like I think I talked about this last week, like the cultivation of a community for people who are Gen Z and are exploring or wanting to build their careers in the communications industry, right? Like I'm always in someone's comment saying we may have someone for this role at the Hab, and but also like just people in my various fields. Like there are people who are um, Black studies, which is my major in college, right? Black studies professionals who have found themselves in other careers and they're in communications with me, or they're doing like a tangential role, like cultural insights or anything, and we kind of like engage on the level of scholarly literature and stuff, right? Like we get to nerd out, like that is also branding yourself. People get to see
Hmm.
like that kind of thing, even if it's not for a job. Right, the
Right.
branding goes
Right.
even beyond the job. That's kind of what I was getting to about being a person who has a job,
Hmm.
right, as opposed to and your identity being you and not the job, right? Like people will interact with you and you will get opportunities that don't even have anything to do with your job, right? And don't actually maybe even propel your professional goals, but there's something personal to you. Like let's
Hmm.
say for instance, and then I will actually turn this into a final thought because I've been talking for 2 minutes. That right, like if people were like, you know, with the kind of like politicizing of ethnic studies, area studies, like degrees, like talking to people about what it is like to like pursue this degree in this environment, right? And how you come out on the other side, right? Like that's something that is not tied to my job. My job is about about like Black studies degrees, like
Right.
and rightfully so. Like again, it's not their mission, but um, like that's something that I'm passionate about, right? And so that's something that me commenting could be in front of somebody who is a chair of a department and wants someone to come in. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
No.
it, yeah, like it
I
exists
definitely
far
understand that.
beyond content,
Yeah.
and it exists beyond the job title, the career trajectory, the mobility.
Yeah. Branding is about being yourself and not making organizations you join your personality. Like
Hmm.
that shouldn't change who you are at
Yes,
your core.
maybe we'll talk about
Establishing,
that.
yeah, establishing a brand is more about having a like consistent message about who you are and
Hmm.
how you can reflect that in different spaces, right?
Yeah, I think this is
This
good. When
also
we,
is related to Greek organizations, but I'm
I
not going to
wasn't
go
gonna
there.
say it.
I'm not
I
going to go
wasn't
there.
gonna say it. I
But
wasn't
I'm
gonna say it.
saying like no matter what org you join, whether
Matter
it's
of fact,
corporate, whether it's personal, should not change you as a person.
yes.
So,
Matter of fact, I need a good quality clothing brand to get on it with the GDI merch. As a former campus
Here
president,
you go.
as a former campus president of
Nike
GDI
sponsor
United,
us. Somebody sponsor us so he can make a clothing brand for
right,
both the podcast and GDIs.
right, please, please, because I am now thinking about how you're wearing your merch. I need to wear my merch.
Oh wow.
Right.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Well,
Okay, that's a good place to wrap.
yeah, that
Thank you all
is.
for tuning in and talk. Well, you're listening, but please talk back with us
Yes.
about this episode when you hear what resonates with you, what doesn't resonate with you, what has changed about the job market by the time this episode airs. Right, like
Right.
that is, like for those of you who are looking for your like your first job when this comes out. Or are looking to transition in your career, like we want to know, we want to keep up to date, right? And you may
Right.
be a guest on the podcast,
Right.
the
Comment,
number
like,
one
subscribe, you know.
companion. Right. Like,
Right.
comment, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell button so you don't miss the episode when it
Right.
drops.
Right. Well, yeah, that's it, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. See you next time.
Yes.
Bye.